It says, do you guys think there will ever be a Fairphone or Librem phone that has hardware that competes against Apple or even Google Pixels? That's the only thing that keeps me on mainstream devices is significantly improved hardware. Me personally, I don't know that much about hardware, to be honest with you. I'm more of a software guy. I'm assuming there's some kind of barrier to entry there that's keeping phones from being competitive. I wonder if maybe it's like a bulk thing. Like, you get the best price if you buy something in bulk. So maybe whereas people like Google and Apple can buy a bunch of chips and then if they don't use them, like repurpose them or toss them or resell them or something, maybe these companies can't get them at that same volume, or once they do get them, they kind of have to use them until they run out.
Perhaps they could compete if you guys actually promoted them. How can Linux phones compete if few people are actually buying them because you're recommending other crap devices?
If you want us to stop shilling Apple and Google, as you so call it, then you need to do your part to help make these things grow. Support the projects you love. Either donate to them, or what would really help people is find those non-tech people around you, your friends and family who are like, yeah, I hate Apple, I hate Google, but I don't really feel comfortable messing with my phone. Be like, hey, I'll help you do it. I'll walk you through it. I'll come over one afternoon and do it with you. That, in my opinion, is the best way that we're gonna start seeing wider adoption of other solutions. If you want better options, go be the change you want to see in the world. Help other people get to that level.
I'm still gonna always recommend an Apple iDevice over like any Android device to most people in my life. It's just generally gonna be better for privacy and security for them, from what I've done and what I've researched. It's crazy, like we get accused, we cover stories and I'm sure we're gonna get people saying, oh, you guys hate Pixels, and it's like, no, like
I hate them so much, I'm using one and I'm very happy with it.
Right.
That's how much I hate Pixels.
I am not currently using a Pixel right now, but that doesn't mean I still don't think it's a good option. These exploits happen on both sides of the coin. In a month, we might see 4, 5 major iPhone exploits. We just don't know. That these exploits don't mean we don't encourage people to use these. However, if something consistently gets exploits and it's a consistent problem over time and they're not dealing with it well and their response is terrible, that's a different story. But these are things that we just have to respond to, and it's just kind of the nature of the privacy and security world. So before we get people thinking that like, oh, time to move to an iPhone, maybe an iPhone's right for you, but maybe, still remaining on a Pixel's fine. It just depends on who you are.
Do you know anything about the hardware supply chain or?
Well, Purism and a lot of these Linux devices are going to struggle a little bit more if they try to have a more open source hardware stack. Which is super hard to do. I believe that was one of the limitations for Purism's Librem 5. One of infinite limitations, but one of them I think definitely was that they are trying to have as many of the components open source as possible, and that's not easy to do.
That's a good point, yeah, because then there's certain things you just can't purchase because they're proprietary.
Right. And even then, there still are some proprietary parts of the Librem 5. I want to say the modem was one of them. There's just some things they couldn't do.
I think that's true for the Pine phone, too.
Yeah, just based on memory, so people should fact check that. But I actually don't know what you're talking about with the Fairphone, because the Fairphone is fairly competitive to other mainstream devices.
Is it though? And again, you don't promote the Fairphone like you do with iPhones and Pixels. Anytime you talk about phones, those are the only two options you mention. Unless it's a viewer question or product review, you never actually promote the alternatives.
Fortunately, Pixels, there's a lot of options. You can do a lot of things with Pixels, so you can still benefit from that hardware and just change out the software.
And there it is. Thank you so much for illustrating my point. The fact is, the Pine phone is a good enough alternative. It has hardware toggle switches, a removable battery, works with prepaid services like Mint Mobile, and it doesn't have any Google or Apple software on it. If you can't live without your Google apps, then a Fairphone or any de-Googled phone would be your best option. And no, Pixels are not a good option for custom ROMs. Buying a Google product to get away from Google is the dumbest logic Techlore ever said to his audience.
And I guess the ethos of this does matter to me, and it's why I don't mind buying a brand new Google Pixel. My Google Pixel I have on my desk right now, I bought used, but I wouldn't have that many reservations about buying a brand new Google Pixel from the Google store. Because to me, I'm using my money to send a message to Signal that I like their hardware business, I like their business that doesn't inherently involve data collection and just ads. So that's the other thing too. I think there has to be at least a small amount of like personal responsibility in where we put our wallets. And I don't know how realistically it's going to impact anything like YouTube, but I do think when you're buying YouTube Premium and engaging with YouTube Premium, you are at least sending a signal to YouTube that like they don't need advertising revenue to exist. But like Nate said, they're still always going to take advantage of the ad revenue anyway.